We just got done talking to Tony Luetkemeyer. He's going to be the Senate floor leader there in Jeff City starting next month. He is from Platte and Buchanan counties here on the Kansas City side. So when it comes to things like education, the Show Me Institute, our friends who join us Wednesday here on KCMO 95.7 FM, just put out their 2025 Moving Missouri Forward Education Blueprint. You can find it at showmeinstitute.org. Susan Pendergrass is here on KCMO. Susan, good morning. Thanks for joining us. What are the big takeaways on what you would want to see this state legislature tackle starting next month?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Well, folks who live on the Kansas side of Kansas City have the option of choosing which school their child goes to, regardless of what district it's in, or even within their own district. Kansas has very strong public school open enrollment, and Missouri has none. So one of our priorities for this legislative session would be to encourage lawmakers to take a look at how we can offer the same thing to Missouri parents so that they can choose if their school's not working out for their child, if their child's being bullied or the school's too big or too small or doesn't offer what the student needs, to let them choose a different public school. Like 25 states have a mandatory program. Again, Kansas is probably the strongest, but we want to be able to offer the same thing to Missouri parents, for sure. Secondly, we have a scholarship program, an education scholarship program, and most kids in the state are eligible for it. 85% of kids could get a scholarship of around $6,500, $7,000 to go to a private school or to home educate. But right now, the way it works in Missouri is that the scholarship organizations have to raise the money through donations. We would like to see the state publicly fund that public program. Right now, the donations are tax credits. We would like the state to just publicly fund that. And then finally, we just want to look at accountability at DESE. We don't have good school report cards. We don't have good information about how our schools are doing. DESE, recently I've been very disappointed. The school report cards they did have.
What is, sorry, Susan, the acronym, what is DESE?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's the Missouri Department of Elementary Secondary Education in Jefferson City, the folks that are, responsible at the state level for everything related to public education. It's hard to get good information out of them. I think we need to take a really hard look at what's going on with those folks over there and get better information out to parents about Missouri schools and have good school report cards and just hold them more accountable. Our school performance just gets worse and worse. So we want to see a real strong look at maybe a performance audit for that department.
How can parents who didn't maybe know that the $6,500 to $7,000 scholarship option may be available to them, what is the process to potentially get a hold of that monies for whether it's a private school or potentially homeschooling? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's called the Most Scholars Program, and there's a Most Scholars website at the Missouri Treasurer's Department page. And there are 6 organizations in the state that give out the scholarships, and you apply to one of those 6 organizations. Now, I will say that right now there's waiting lists just because of those organizations are allowed to raise up to $50 million, but so far, they're looking at raising maybe closer to $20 million. So there are waiting lists, and I would like the state to pick up the kids who do want them, who find themselves on a wait list, to publicly fund them. But you would go to the Most Scholars page, and that's where the information is about how to apply for the scholarship. Gotcha.
So you want to see basically the state pick up that $30 million gap that exists right now between private donations and the target of $50 million. That's
right. Florida did a similar thing where they funded the wait list publicly. We have money. There was money from the stimulus that went to scholarships that went unused. I don't know if we're sending that back, but I think this is an important move for the state because they made everyone in the state eligible. And if folks are listening to your show today and they're like, wow, I want one of those, and find out, well, you're eligible, but you can't get one, then I think the state needs to, firm up their commitment to the program by saying we will cover the wait list at least or provide matching funds to these scholarship organizations.
I don't know if any study's been done on this, but do we even know if there's room for these kids to enroll in potentially private schools? Or is your thought process here, it will create an environment where more private schools will exist and that will help alleviate the potential problem when it comes to enrollment?
Yeah, so we do certainly have open seats in our private schools. We have, hundreds of private schools throughout the state. We have rural private schools. There are certainly open seats, but in the states like Arizona and Florida that have done this universally, every child in the state in Arizona can take $7,000. Even if they already go to a private school, they can get the scholarship. More private schools have opened in Arizona and in Florida as they've opened up these school choice programs. States like California and New York have fewer private schools than they used to because there's no private school choice programs in those states. So we're in the states that have allowed parents to do this, and Arkansas is one, Iowa is one. For our neighbors, Oklahoma is one. What you see is a response from the private school side where people are more willing to open schools, but they need to have a commitment that the kids are going to continue to get the scholarship money.
Last thing in the next minute, Susan, what are the benefits? Do you see public schools also, because the line of thinking is, this destroys public schools. Does it actually help public schools and make them more competitive in some ways? What are the benefits for them if there are any?
Yeah, there is so much research on that. And certainly Iowa still has a public school system, as does Arizona. So it doesn't destroy them, but it does make them stronger because it basically puts superintendents on notice, like you're going to have the kids who want to be in your schools. And so you're going to have to provide the programs that they want to have. And so literally, as Missouri has fallen from 15th to the mid-30s, I don't want to give too much information on like fourth grade reading, Arizona has leapfrogged up over us. Florida's gone from 45th to like 4th. Like the states that open up choice options for parents and make it a real free market situation are the ones that are performing the highest or have seen the highest growth in their performance, while we have stagnated and actually been dropping. So yes, it is a rising tide that can lift all boats, and I think that it's going to, it's happening now in 12 states. So it's going to be happening. It's just a matter of when Missouri decides to jump in.
A rising tide that can lift all boats. I like that sound. Susan Pendergrass, Show Me Institute. Find their blueprint for education in Missouri at showmeinstitute.org. Thank you, Susan. Always great to talk to you on KCMO.
Great.